Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Key to Football with me, Bobby Mays. I've also got Mr. George O'Gara Martins. George, how are you today?
Hi, everyone. I'm fine, thank you. No, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. It's been a busy week of football. There's been a lot that's happened over the last weekend and the week before, and it's going to be good to delve into it with you. So just before we start, everybody, please do follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. You can also find this episode on YouTube, and we will have essentially things that go along with it. So when we say the scores, they'll pop up, fixtures, all of that sort of stuff. It's quite interactive. So do find us on YouTube as well. That's the Key to Football, all one word, all spelled correctly. All right, George, we're going to break into it nice and quickly today. I've got my favorite segment, Cue the Drop. And it is the overreacting with George. My favorite segment that we do. Maybe I don't know if I can. Maybe it's the Arsenal one as well. I can't decide. But overreacting with George, what we do is I give George. There's only 3 today, but it's 3 blanket statements, and George has to tell me very quickly if I'm overreacting or if the public are overreacting. And George is very good at this. So the first question that we have today is Arsenal going to win the Premier League before Manchester United? No. Any reason why? Just you don't think so?
I just think at some point, if Man United keep spending the money that they're spending, they're just going to have to. Whereas with Arsenal, it's, spend 150 million, release some 80s merchandise, baggy sweatshirts, a couple of trackies, maybe a few baseball caps, and then the fans are happy for 5 years. So I think in Man United, unfortunately.
Fair enough. All right. Is Kane back to being England's best striker?
No, because Joe Geldhart is England's best striker.
Spoiler alert.
But the thing is,
there's not many good.
Yes, probably because Calvert-Lewin's been injured for like the last 8 months or however long it's been. Danny Ings has been wildly off form. Vard's age looks like it's catching up with him now. Bamford's been injured.
If I said forward, would that change it? Because then you can throw in like Raheem, Grealish, Foden.
Yeah. I actually think Stockport, Gaza, and Raza are still better than him.
Fair enough. I'm not going to argue on that. And the last one, this is quite a short one actually. Should Thomas Tuchel, go to United at the end of the season, or is he not good enough?
He's definitely good enough. As a career advisor, would I advise him going there? If he can no longer be manager of Chelsea and one of the top, and I mean the top jobs are not available, then yeah, you have to. I mean, you've got to eat. He needs to pay his rent. It's true.
Very true. That's very true. Thanks for that, George. Now, we're going to go into the essentially the next part of the segment, which is what I'm going to ask George is that about Chelsea. We're going to stay out of the political side because that's not really our place to go through. We're here to talk about football, right? So we're going to delve a bit deeper into Thomas Tuchel because there is quite a lot of, essentially, there's a lot of rumors flying about that he probably won't be there at the end of the season. Now, we're going to take this more in the football terms of it. Now, if everything is fine at Chelsea at the end of a season, fingers crossed it is, should he stay on another year? Or if Thomas Tuchel was to decide Manchester United's there, or maybe he goes back to PSG, or he goes to Real Madrid, Barcelona, Is Chelsea the place that you would want to be right now, or do you think it's actually best if he moves on and goes to the next place?
Again, like I said before, I think it all does depend really, because there's obviously been talk about Man United, and if he's available, they should 100% go for him, which I think they should, but I just don't think they will.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is the top managers, it isn't, yes, obviously it's about having the opportunity to manage at a certain club, that's great, but they go with their own identity, with their own mind, with their own, but every top manager, as soon as he signed his contract at a club, let's assume it's in the summer and there is a transfer window, he goes, here's a list of 10 players that I would want, and they know who they want before they get there, and who they like and who they don't like, because they've got their own little band of cronies, of scouts, of staff that are working with them. I think if all is all right at Chelsea and he's going to consistently be backed to the tune of millions and millions,
mm-hmm.
I think he should have one more crack at trying to win the league. And then if not, perhaps seek elsewhere. Because ultimately, to be honest with you, unless it's Bayern Munich, I really couldn't see him leaving. I honestly just couldn't. I just couldn't see him going anywhere.
That he would go for
him. I think it's the biggest club in Germany. I think that's the one you'd want. I can't really see him going anywhere else. He's done Dortmund. He's done Paris Saint-Germain. I don't think he'd go directly from Chelsea to another English club. And even if he did, City wouldn't touch him. Liverpool wouldn't want him because you'd hound him out because they don't play the right way, despite the fact they won the Champions League last year. And I mean, going from Chelsea to Man United, it's like you're not doing yourself any better, are you? Might be a bit more money, but it's probably a bigger job once you get inside.
Bigger job, harder job. I would say they've got a lot more work to do to win the Premier League or win the Champions League. But if you do it, you are going down as you're going down. You'll be remembered forever if you're the person to bring Man United back from the brink. You're essentially going down. And look, I've spoke to quite a few Man United fans over the weekend, and they're all throwing about names. Ten Hag, Poch, Rooney was thrown about. I don't think there's anybody better right now than Thomas Tuchel to go in there and fix that club. However, it's a massive job. It's it's just as hard as winning the league with PSG. There seems to be the voodoo, but coming in and trying to topple Man City and Liverpool right now is pretty hard.
When May says the league, he means the Champions League, because they obviously win the league every year. What did you think May's about? Pessie being booed?
I did see that. It's I don't think any player should ever be booed.
Oh,
but you gotta understand that those fans are pretty disappointed. They've just had the quotation marks best ever transfer window, and
probably.
And it was Ramos, Messi, Wijnaldum. Who was the keeper? The keeper from Italy,
Donnarumma.
That was the
Hakimi.
Oh my gosh, that was a transfer, and then they get knocked out. To be fair, against a decent Real Madrid side with a great manager.
Believe it or not, I actually felt quite sorry for him because it's not his fault. But I can understand why they look at it and they go, we'd be expecting more than, I think it's like four or five goals that he scored. I can completely, I get that. But I think, if Mbappe could stay on side, they would have had that game tucked up. So it's one of them.
Or they could actually mark Benzema.
True.
Benzema just ran rampant in that second half. It was absolutely disgusting. I think there's a lot to blame on the keeper and the defense in that PSG. All right, here's a question for you. Who is currently the worst Premier League team? And I'm not just talking like bottom. You can't just say, well, you can say Norwich, but I'm talking on form. And if the season started today and only had 8 games left, 8 games of the season, who would come dead last? Who do you think it is?
Norwich.
You think it's still Norwich?
I think if you look at form at the moment and where people come, I would say Norwich come last, Everton come second to last.
Ooh.
And then I think it's between Leeds and Watford on current form as to who finishes 18th. But yeah, Norwich. I mean, we'll come on to them in a bit, but goodness me, that as great as Leeds were yesterday, and to be fair, we created a lot of chances and we did play very well. They were absolutely terrible, and that mustn't be forgotten. They are terrible.
Yeah, they are.
But so bad. But I think the thing is, what I think is important for you to remember is when they're playing Liverpool, they know nobody expects them to get out their own half.
Yeah.
But once it's at 3-0 and the Liverpool players know they've won, and Norwich are like, well, it doesn't matter, like it's not going to get any worse, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But that was a game then where they needed the points more than we did, and we are a very beatable team.
Yeah.
And they were just nowhere near it.
Yeah, I mean, we can get onto it a little bit, but it was a big win for you boys yesterday.
Who's the worst team for you?
Who is the worst team for me?
It's Everton, isn't it?
I'm almost tempted to say Brighton right now.
But what about Graham Potter? Best manager ever, next England manager.
Very good manager, and I don't think that has anything to do with managing or anything like that. Like sometimes I just think that your teams, they've got rid of some players over the last couple of seasons, and I think it's just that the final Dan Burn might have been that final piece of the puzzle that fell out, and they just don't look great at the moment. However, saying that, I think they'll probably still stay up this season. They've got, I think they've got the number of points to stay up anyway, so they're not in any relegation battle. But in terms of just form, they are absolutely shocking right now. And same, Norwich are very poor. Everton are horrible, like shocking. It's great to watch. And I'm pretty confident that Newcastle will beat them. Actually, like. I'm pretty confident.
I hope so too.
Yeah. I mean, for you, like you guys looking over your shoulder, 4 points actually quite a lot down there. Fairly short 4 points is quite a lot.
Yeah, but you say that, but then if Everton do beat Newcastle, then it's panic stations.
Very true. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Ronaldo, is he back? Is he still the top dog at United? And should Ralph Rangnick be on his knees apologizing to Mr. Ronaldo?
He never left. He is the top dog at United. Rangnick should not be apologizing. If the alleged rumours are true, and that it was that he wasn't where he should have been, or there was training he wasn't there, then he needs to be. It didn't go anywhere. He is still the top dog. No, I don't think it would be wrong for Rangnick to punish him. If you're supposed to be in a certain place or doing a certain thing at the direction of your manager and you're not doing that, then you have to undergo some form of disciplinary procedure, be it a fine or even be it just left out of a squad. I think a lot of it was made of the Man City thing because he is Man United's best player. And if anyone's going to get them a result, it would have been him. Yeah. And I think the fact he wasn't there made people think something was wrong. I do think, though, that Man United will not get top four without him. They will not. I don't think they get relatively far in the Champions League without him. But I think the question is, what happens if Man United finish fifth? I don't think he stays. No. I honestly don't think he stays if Man United finish fifth.
Where does he go?
This thing is, for me, it's all about a domino effect. If Mbappe Lotan goes to Real Madrid, I wouldn't be surprised to see Ronaldo go there to play with Neymar and Messi. Because that's what the world wants. That's what you want for some silly reason. I don't. I'd hate that. But that's what you want, and I think I could see him going there. Easy league title, easy Coupe de France, easy Coupe de Ligue. And then, if you don't win the Champions League with that front three, then you should be in prison, quite frankly. I can see that.
Is there anywhere else he could go?
I think there are places he would like to go, but I can't see anywhere else paying him the wages that he thinks he's worth.
There's no way that Man United let him go to City, is there?
No. City wouldn't pay for him, I don't think. I'd look at it. I think City'd say we don't need him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. I honestly can't see him going anywhere else other than PSG if they don't get top 4.
Interesting. I do find it interesting because I think that there's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes that Ronaldo's been blamed for just because it's that whole, top dog at United. It happened to Pogba. It happens to everybody. One player at United always gets hounded, and it happens to Ronaldo. And it comes with the territory of being literally the best player of a generation, going to the biggest club in the world, arguably, and then that team not doing very well. And you have a manager that is not going to be in charge at the end of a season. And I think that there is a lot of there's a lot of things that need to change at United. And I don't think no matter what, Ronaldo should be there next. I think if I was a United fan, as much as I love Ronaldo and I like Ronaldo, I wouldn't want that. Your future is not Ronaldo. Your future, he's not the person you shape your team around, and he doesn't help your future players really, apart from maybe training ethic, and because he does everything himself. He's just the beast. So I would be looking to move him on next year as a United, but that's coming from a Liverpool fan that they might have completely different mindset. I would be more talking and trying to get into that youth system that United keep pushing through. But that's just my opinion, George. Just my opinion. I just want to comment on maybe the feel-good moment of the weekend. Yarmolenko getting his goal. Just so happy for him, and I think everybody was pretty chuffed. Did you catch it? Did you catch it, George?
Yes, I did. Very touching moment, I think.
Yeah.
Very, very, very happy for him. So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, last 2 questions that we're going to go over today, and then we'll get into the results. 33 points. Is it enough to stay up? Is that the line? Is 33 points the line that everybody should aim for this season?
Yeah, in many ways, I actually think you could get away with 32. I've drawn the conclusion that Norwich aren't going to get above 25 points. It's just a question of Watford, Burnley, Everton, and Leeds now.
Yeah.
I think that we've got at least one more win and a few draws in us.
Yeah.
I think that Everton, you really don't know. It wouldn't. In my head, if it was any other team, if it was Brentford, Crystal Palace, Brighton, even Aston Villa, and they were in the position that Everton are in, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're down. But there's just something about maybe
it's Everton, isn't it?
Maybe
it's fact they've never been done.
Yeah, the fact they've never gone down there. It's that you look at it and you think, well, Richarlison is a very good player. Pickford plays for England, so he must be class. That's what the media want you to think. Seamus Coleman was good 7 years ago, so he must still be good now. Decore was good for Watford.
Yeah.
But there's just something about Everton. There's just something about Everton that worries me. But I think 33, I think that does it this year. I think it's going to be very tight. I think last season, you saw it where it was Sheffield United, West Brom and Fulham, and then about a 6, 7, 8 point gap to Burnley. I think the gap now is going to be 1 or 2 points.
Last day antics.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. But I do think that'll be enough.
It's actually funny you say that, because I haven't thought about it like that with Everton. If that was Newcastle, Brighton, Leeds, Watford, Burnley, Norwich, Villa, Southampton, any of the Palace, any of those teams with the form and the games that are coming up, I would say they're done. That's it. Okay, we'll put those guys in the relegation basket. But because it's Everton, you just think Everton have spent so much money these last couple of years. But it's happened to big clubs before that we forget about. Like it's happened, like maybe none as big as Everton in terms of just how long they've been in the league, because they are the longest lasting. Maybe them and Arsenal, is it? I'm confused. But this would be like, is this bigger, Everton going down, than when West Ham went down? You know, is this bigger than when Newcastle went down?
Yes.
Villa went down?
Yes.
Bigger than when Blackburn went down?
Yes.
Bigger than when Forest went down?
Yes.
Am I forgetting anybody?
No. Well, you could make an argument to say when Leeds went down.
Oh, sorry, Leeds.
But I think what's important to remember is with Leeds, with Forest, with Aston Villa, with Blackburn, with Sunderland, the writing was on the wall for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like Villa were just, Nathan famously said to me, there's only so many years if you don't invest and if you don't actively move forward that you cannot be in the 3 worst teams. You don't have to be the worst, you just have to be in the 3 worst. And I think for us, Sunderland, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Blackburn, they were hovering there or thereabouts for ages. Whereas with Everton, you go back a few years, and I think they're finishing 7th or 8th with Marco Silva. Don Carlo comes in. They're fine that season. The next season, they're top of the league early on. Granted, they didn't play anyone good, but they were top of the league. And then this year, I think everyone just thought Rafa will keep them ticking over and they'll finish 10th.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't worked out like that at all.
Well, it's interesting you bring this up because the last part that I wanted to talk about was Everton's points deduction and how much it would actually affect them. Because there is a rumor flying around that Everton have essentially, because what you're saying is they've invested. Everton have invested in players and managers over the last couple of years, and they've heavily invested. They've invested in a stadium, and due to that, financial fair play means you have to be within minus £100 million. So that's it, minus. You have to have at least earned negative £100 million. Everton right now, so that's over 4 years. So over the last 4 years, Everton are negative 200 million when it ticks over. So essentially what happens is financial fair play, you are going to get minus points for that if you can't prove why, you can't change the books. Now, Simon Jordan essentially said that there's no way you can actually get from that minus 200 to minus 100. Like it's nearly impossible. And there's a lot of things I disagree with Simon Jordan on, but when it comes to running a football club, he's pretty on the ball with money and analytics. So it looks like they could be getting a points deduction. Now, a points deduction should be impacted this year. However, they will push it back to next year. So one of two things will happen. They either get relegated this year anyway, and then potentially get points deduction next year, and that would just destroy Everton. That would absolutely destroy them. Or they stay up this year, and they probably get relegated next year if they get a points deduction anyway. So there is a massive chance over the next 2 years that Everton do get relegated. And that's just what we hear. So they might not get this points deduction, but that is, that's flying around the rumor mill pretty hard right now. Have you heard about that, George? And what do you think?
I have. But yes, I agree with Monsieur Jordan as well. I think what happens, gets brought forward. They then said, we want to appeal it, gets kicked into the long grass. I don't even think it takes effect next year. I think this could genuinely take years. The thing is, you're going to be surprised. I think even if they get relegated and they get a point deduction in the Championship, I still think they come back up.
potentially.
I think they've got enough players that aren't good enough for the Premier League, but would be happy to stay there in the Championship for one season. If I'm being honest with you, who signs Pickford?
Yeah.
Who signs Pickford? Palace might do, or a London club like that. Coleman would probably stay. Godfrey might be happy to stay for a year. Yerry Mina probably goes. Michael Keane would stay for a year. They've just signed Patterson. He'd definitely play. Forgive me if I'm getting the pronunciation wrong. Mikolenko would stay. He's just arrived. Andre Gomez probably stays. Decore will go. Richarlison would go. Calvert-Lewin would go. Townsend would stay. Damari Gray probably stays. So I think even with a point deduction, as long as it's less than 15, I think they'd still come straight back up.
My issue, you are right. I think some of those players would stay. If you get a points deduction, it might change some of those minds because they're like, whoa, this is a massive job. This is huge. However, the parts that I'm looking at that might kind of change it a bit is Everton are designed to be in the Premier League. They've been in there so long. Every single budget is designed on being in the Premier League and occasionally making Europa. Now, when you go into the Championship, your budget essentially it's worse than half. So you just get halved, and all of these players are just going to be docked. So they are going to struggle to keep a lot of those players, and loads of, I don't even think any of those players will have relegation in their contracts because it's just never even come into mind. But I'm sure there's a fine clause somewhere in some of those about relegation and getting out of Dodge. Interesting. Very good chat there, George. Okay, so we'll move on to the fixtures. Let's start with a pretty big game, actually. I think this probably confirms safety for Brentford. I can actually see them going on a run of just losing every game because that's what Brentford do. They'll win a game, lose 10 straight, and then win 2 games or something like that. But Brentford go to 30 points against Burnley by beating them 2-0. It was a Tony brace again. And look, it's a big result for Brentford. Horrific result for Burnley. Absolutely horrific. This would have been a game that Daishi was completely targeting. Did you catch it? And what do you think, George?
I didn't catch it, but I do agree with what you're saying. I mean, Brentford needed to win Norwich and Burnley. They needed to get 6 out of 6.
Yeah.
Their remaining games for the rest of the season. Leicester away, you'd expect them to lose that. Chelsea away, you'd expect them to lose that. West Ham at home, according to you and Liam, West Ham are the 4th best team in the league, so they will lose that. Watford, perhaps winnable. Then they've got Spurs at home, would lose that, you would think. Man United away would lose that. Southampton, again, you never know. And then they've got Everton and Leeds. But had they not won those 2, you could be looking at them essentially having no wins until May. So it was huge for them to get this done. For Burnley, the thing is, they're just not panicking. Burnley are not going to panic until it goes down to the final game of the season.
Yeah.
They've still got 2 games in hand on Leeds. They've still got 2 games in hand on Watford. And for Burnley now, yes, I don't expect them to get anything against Manchester City. But on the 10th of April, I do expect them to beat Norwich. And then in some of their remaining games, there are points there to be had.
Yeah.
Wolves at home, Watford away, Villa at home, Newcastle at home on the final day. So for Burnley, it's not a great result. Of course it's not, because they just want to win and get out of it. But you've got Norwich on 17, Burnley on 21, Watford on 22, Everton 22, Leeds 26. You know, Burnley gets something against Norwich. Leeds fail to beat either whoever are remaining to Wolves or Watford, I believe it is.
Yeah.
The Wolves or Southampton. then they're what, two points behind.
Mm-hmm.
So heating up.
Dire straits for both of those. Like for Burnley specifically, I think Brentford are. I do think that there's a chance they just don't win any more games, but their added Christian Eriksen factor just makes me think that he could win a game. He does it for Denmark. Occasionally, he'll just win a game for Denmark, and because he's that good. And I think that's the difference that's going to keep him up this year. That won't keep him up next year. They'll be found out next year. Christian Eriksen's not good enough to keep somebody up for a team up for a season, but over the space of 10 games, he's probably good enough to keep you up.
Perhaps.
Pardon?
Perhaps.
I think Burnley, you are right. They've got a couple of games in hand. They win those or they get 4 points. They're doing all right.
They are not, like I said, they're not going to panic until it's 2 games to go.
Yeah.
I think I keep going back to that tweet I saw, whether or not it's true or not. I'm just going to say it because I want it to be true. That I think in all of their Premier League seasons, since they've come back up with Sean Dyche the second time, bar one season, they've been in the bottom 3 in March and April. That's
crazy. They are the one team, if you were looking over your shoulder, you probably wouldn't want to see them below. You look at Everton, you just don't think they're going to get relegated, but Burnley are actually the team that probably won't get relegated. It kind of leads us on to the next game. It was Southampton 1, Watford 2. Hernandez got a brace again. Great. He's having a great couple run of games. I just wanted to say, what is this a surprise, this game for you? And does this mean that Watford are, because everyone's been confirmed that Norwich and Watford are going down. That's confirmed. It's the 3rd spot. Did this game scare you a bit that you think, God damn, Roy Hodgson could actually do it? What do you think, George?
Firstly, I think Southampton are, as one of my friends said yesterday in our group chat, they are the definition of a beach team.
Yes.
They get to a certain point in the season. Southampton are now sat in 10th on 35 points. It's almost nigh on impossible for them to go down. They're 10 points behind Spurs in 8th, so that they're not going to make that up. They're just going to keep ticking along now. They're booking their end of season holidays. They're thinking about what car they want to lease when this one runs out. They're thinking about what colour they want their boots to be at the next game, rather than if they need to win it or not. Because for me, Southampton are a team that are probably looking to that FA Cup quarter-final against Man City. That's what they're going for now.
Yeah,
and in their remaining games of Burnley, Leeds, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, Palace, Brentford, Liverpool and Leicester, they will get enough to survive, and they know that. So I'm saying all this, and then we've got them on the 2nd of April, and God forbid they beat us, but they probably will. But this isn't Southampton. This isn't Watford turning over a quality team. And from what I saw, it was 2 very good goals by Hernandez. But I'm still not convinced by Watford. I'm sorry to say. I think Watford have picked up a win there, which is great. But for me, I just can't see in this next run of games of Liverpool, Leeds, Brentford, City, Burnley, Palace, how many wins they actually get. Draws, perhaps. The only team I actually see them going there and beating, unfortunately, is Leeds. That's it. I don't see them getting anything against any of those other teams, including Brentford.
Yeah. It's at that point as well, it might almost be you guys just maintaining a draw actually keeps you up as well, keeping them down, keeping you up. So a draw definitely won't be good enough for them, but it might be good enough for Leeds. All right, we'll move on to Leeds then, because that's a great little segue into it. Leeds 2, Norwich 1. I've got a funny story about this, because I messaged George at 1-0, 90 minutes, saying, great win for you guys there. Good job. And then he texts me back, saying saying that thanks for that. I was behind on my stream, and essentially I ruined the ending for him. I had no idea it finished 2-1. I thought it finished 1-0 because what happened was Rodrigo 14th minute goal, McLean 91st minute equalizer. Massive equalizer. Norwich go away with a point. Absolutely ruin Leeds' day. Wrong. Gelhardt, sorry, massive 94th minute winner. Look, I know that George must be so excited about this. So I'm gonna let him fly.
Yeah, I mean, that was the best moment of the season that you ruined, because
I feel so bad.
The funny thing about it is, as Mays has said, he's thought it's 1-0, right? And Norwich have scored. And I was like, oh, well, we're going to score in a minute. So, like that,
no
that's
idea.
The thing. Like because it wasn't all up to date, should we say?
Mm-hmm.
It was like I'm there thinking,
by the way.
We're going to win it now. So that was stolen from me. But what I would say is that win is massive psychologically. As everyone has said, if you do not beat Norwich, you do not deserve to be in this league, because they are absolutely awful. Norwich are a terrible team. They even yesterday we were sitting off them. I'll come on to our game management in a minute. We were sitting off them and they just couldn't muster anything up until very lazy defending at the end, and then we end up just coming through all right. I thought that was the best I've seen us play in quite some time. Bamford in that first half was fantastic. That was what we've been missing, someone to hold it up and link the play. And what was nice was you had players playing in their actual positions.
Yeah.
You actually had right backs playing right back, and centre mids playing there. I think the trouble was Mays will remember when we were in the Championship. And he'd go, oh, great win for you guys this week, 1-0. And I was like, yeah, it should have been 6, because we were so wasteful. And yesterday, we were so wasteful. It wouldn't have been unjust for us to be 3-0 up at half-time. But as everybody knows, Liverpool, as Mays will attest to, used to, like, the teams would dine off that for years.
Yeah.
Liverpool would play West Brom or Crystal Palace or Watford or Swansea, go 1-0 up, pop it about, not get a second, and they'd snatch one at the end. And that is precisely what happened there. But in the end, we deserved the win. I mean, the composure by Rafinha to take it round Tim Krul.
Oh, the absolute nerve. I bet you were absolutely, oh my God, I bet your heart was just going nuts.
Well, do you know what the funny thing is? Do you know why it wasn't? Because of you.
Not my fault.
I was like, oh, we're going to score. Because the irony was I was like, time's running out here. I wonder if Mays has like misread the score or something. And then he just went through and scored. But yeah, I thought our game management was disgraceful, really. Bamford comes off at half time. Been since revealed that they knew he wasn't ready. They thought, let's just take him off now, which is fine. I thought Rodrigo was fantastic yesterday. It's one of the best games I've seen him have for us.
Was it a difference because Bamford was back that Rodrigo was better?
Well, I'll come on to that in a moment. But I think you could definitely see we were missing something with Bamford.
Yeah.
But we then take Rodrigo off, and we sort of lost that pincer, that pressure up top.
Yeah.
And then Koch comes on to play CDM, and it was much more sort of. But that happened on like the 59th, 60th minute. So we were like half an hour try and beat us.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we were still getting chances. Like, I think Dan James had one that was saved. Rafinha hit the bar from a free kick. But then again, they went down the other end and hit the bar. But a really good performance from us today. But it wouldn't be me if I didn't say this. It's Norwich. We should be winning that game. So as well as everyone played yesterday, that was fantastic. We needed it. They stood up and be counted. We are not safe yet. They need to do the same against Southampton. They need to do the same against Watford. They need to do the same against Brighton. And they need to do the same against Brentford. The other games in between, like Wolves and Chelsea and Arsenal and Palace, fair enough if we don't get the win, but we at least need to go in there with a chance of winning the game. instead of just going, oh, well, see how many you can score.
Yeah. Look, massive win for you guys. Big loss for Norwich. I think that confirms it. I mean, they had a cup. They don't have an easy end of play fixtures. And I think it showed at the end. I think all the faces of the Norwich fan base were pretty, cemented that they were going down. But massive for Leeds, just momentum wise and confidence. Huge that you guys got the win.
That's the thing is supposedly Cooper or at least Phillips are going to be back after the international break. So if we can get a draw against Wolves on Friday, then I think that puts us in such a healthy position with to be honest, our best player coming back.
Huge.
So fingers crossed that the chips fall in the right way.
Very, very true. Okay, let's move on to the last kind of relegation team that played this weekend, which was Everton 0, Wolves 1. Connor Cody with a goal, and he celebrated like he was a Liverpool fan, for sure. It was. I mean, you're running out of ways to describe Everton apart from pitiful. And there's no confidence. It looks like the tactics have been thrown out the window. And I'm in two mindsets of what I want to happen to Everton, because there's a part of me that just wants them to go down just because I have it over them for Liverpool. But my favorite games of the season are Everton versus Liverpool. So all of a sudden, I would be missing out on that. So selfish reasons, I kind of want them to stay up as well. And I think the Premier League would miss a team like Everton. However, there's no set right for a team to stay up. And you have to do it over the season. And right now, they are looking like the form team to go down. Big loss to Wolves. Red card again for Everton. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head.
John Joe Kenny.
Yeah. And, there's just no... Is Frank Lampard in trouble there, George? And is Everton done?
At risk of sounding ignorant and being massively influenced by the Leeds bias, I think what you've said there is true. I think you've got a club and a fan base that are aware that there is no divine right to be in the Premier League, but they've put a manager who thinks there is.
Yeah.
I genuinely think he strolled in there. He thought, I'll get Dele Alli, we'll get Donny. We've got these two fullbacks. They look all right. When Calvert-Lewin comes back, we'll be fine. This is everyone a real test of management. People like Mays, thought he did a brilliant job with Derby until I showed him the truth and pulled the wool from over his eyes. Do you not think, Mays, that a midfield of Mason Mount, Harry Wilson, and former Premier League and Spurs player Tom Huddleston should be finishing 6th in the Championship?
True. It's a very good point.
It is. Fikayo Tomori now at AC Milan was in that team. So I think this Derby myth did it. I think Chelsea, to be fair to him, I thought for an inexperienced manager, he did relatively well, but it is Chelsea.
They went on and won the Champions League.
Yeah, as soon as he went, he spent a fortune. But now he's in a real job, and I think he's struggling to muster a bit of courage there. But I'm happy in some ways because it's shown Dele Alli to be the player that I've often thought he is, which is someone who was on a purple streak, someone who had an X factor, but it had to be on his terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've seen that at Everton. Van der Beek, I mean, goodness gracious, looked like, not Zidane, who did he look like? Not Pirlo. Roberto Baggio-esque against Leeds. In fact, no. Fabregas-esque against Leeds is how he looked. And looks absolutely terrible. For Everton, I think that they are, as you say, the form team that you'd probably want to play. They still do have, I mean, that Newcastle game is it for quite some time. That Newcastle game is a winnable game. The following ones, West Ham, Man United, then Liverpool.
Yeah.
You sort of think, well, they're probably not going to get anything there, followed by Chelsea, Leicester, Brentford and Arsenal. For me, it's the game against Newcastle and it's the 2 postponed games, one against Watford, one against Palace, where that, they need to get wins. Unfortunately, I don't want Everton, the football club, to go down. But unless they get something in those games, then they are down. That's it.
They're in trouble.
Because the thing that I think a lot of real world thinking dictates to is, as soon as you're a good player, like a Richarlison, like a DCL at Leeds, like a Phillips, like a Rafinha, and I'm not trying to question anyone's character, I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm not playing. I'm not going to play. Because if I play and I get injured, or if I play and this happens, I might not be able to get a move. You don't want me to play because you can sell me for all this money.
Yeah.
And whether or not, but that's the thing, I think a lot of people forget that when you've got teams at the bottom, that you've seen it, particularly with Stoke when they went down after finishing, I think, 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that with Mark Hughes. Shaqiri was like, oh, I'm down. I'm checked out now.
Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah. At Newcastle, he was checked out.
Yeah. Sissoko,
yeah. Loads of decent players at Villa when they went down were checked out. Sunderland, Adnan Januzaj, I hate to say it, maybe even Jermaine Defoe, checked out. So there's a lot of psychology comes into it now. And for Everton, the pressure's just going to keep mounting until they get that win. And they've only won once in the league under Lampard. And who was that against, Maze?
Leeds.
Yeah, it was 3-0.
Big win. You guys really would have liked that win right now. But I think, actually, just to say, I think Gini Wijnaldum did play better when they were confirmed to go down. Once you're confirmed to go down, you actually play a lot better because you realize, well, I need to. If you're that caliber, Gini Wijnaldum wasn't like that caliber at that point, so he actually played better to get a move. But most players that know they're going to get a move, yeah, I agree. They check out. They don't care. If they know they're going down, there's no point. All right, last game that we're going to talk about in depth. Biggest game of the weekend in terms of two teams. It was United 3, Spurs 2. There's a massive reason we're talking about this game. The GOAT is back. Ronaldo hat-trick. Harry Kane got a penalty. Classic Maguire got an own goal. But there was one man. There was one man that we're talking about, and that was Cristiano Ronaldo. Incredible. And all the goals were there was a header outside the box, a run-in, he ran half the pitch to get the other one. Just it shows that man has still got abundance of talent, and not talent, raw skill. And he'll win games for you if you have him on your team. Massive result for United, put them back in the top four shout. Again, I don't think anybody actually really thought Spurs were probably going to win against United away. They're just that team that Spurs don't win big games away. But what did you think? Did you catch it? And I'm guessing you loved watching Cristiano Ronaldo do that.
I liked watching him do it because the fact that so many people just dislike him, which I completely get.
Yeah.
But I'm also enjoying the opportunity to draw contrasts between Ronaldo and Messi at the moment, because from a Ronaldo point of view, it's the harvest from the wheat is actually quite good at the moment. But you know what? I thought that game was upsetting that is broadcast on the TV to be a good level of football, because I thought that it sounds silly me saying the standard of that game is atrocious, because there's obviously world-class players playing, but honestly,
the defending was shocking.
But that's the thing. Ronaldo scored that first goal, it was brilliant, and his positional play and stuff is fantastic, and he's always there at the big moments, and that's brilliant. And obviously, I really like him. But Manchester United, just like I said to you before, wouldn't be anywhere near where they are without him.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I don't think either team deserved to win. I think each team should have got 0 points for that game, because I thought Spurs, without that penalty and without that own goal, wouldn't have scored. Obviously, I've heard what I've just said, but I just honestly thought, like, is this it?
Yeah.
This is like this is the game that you're sticking on a Saturday night when I'm waiting for my Chinese to arrive to try and keep me entertained. Like, it was a great spectacle in terms of goals. Like, oh wow, that's really entertaining. But in terms of looking at, I'm like, none of these teams could compete in Europe at all.
No.
But at the top stage, without Cristiano Ronaldo, Man United would be nowhere near it, and Spurs are what they've always been. You know, Liam's famously says, "This is it for Tottenham. I'm genuinely scared. They're never going to have a better manager than Antonio Conte." He doesn't want to be there, does he? As I've said from the offset, Kane and Son, dribs and drabs. But apart from that, take Kane and Son out of that team, I don't see how they're any better than Palace.
It's not a bad shout, to be fair. I mean, Kane and Son make a team better, but if you put Kane and Son in if you put Kane or Son at Arsenal, I actually think Arsenal would be a pretty damn good team right now, because they need that actual experienced forward, and it's not Lacazette. Very interesting, because I agree. I don't think that the standing of defending there was horrible. And there's not one defender really in either team that I think would make it into the top 3 sides right now, out of Chelsea, Liverpool, and City. I think like not one defender out of those 3, maybe Varane, and that's it. But even then, I don't think Varane would make it over any of the others on current form, especially. De Gea maybe would get in over. No, he wouldn't. I don't think he would get in over Alisson or Edison or Mendy.
No, none of them do.
Yeah.
None of them. The thing is, other than Ronaldo in a team in which you are playing a number 9,
yeah,
I don't think any. To be fair, I thought Pogba was all right. I would say that I thought Pogba was all right in dribs and drabs, but guess what? He should be doing that, and you know that. So.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, so I'll run through the scores, George. If you have any fine points that you want to say about these games for the remaining ones, just let me know at the end. West Ham 2, Villa 1. Yarmolenko, that was the Yarmolenko goal. Fornals and Ramsey. Chelsea, I mean, we didn't get into the red cards actually today, and I'm very thankful, because the VAR was atrocious for this game. Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0. Havertz, unbelievable finish. Brighton 0, Liverpool 2. Diaz and Salah, again, VAR, horrible, should have been a red card against Diaz. And then Arsenal 2, Leicester 0. It was Partey and Lacazette. George, anything you wanted to say about those games before we move on? We'll finish up for today.
Well, just quickly, that's season over for Villa now, and I think it's been a transitional one, but I think there's been positives to take from it.
Yeah.
Nathan
building blocks for next year.
Nathan was saying to me that if they did have a chance to sort of finish top 8, and if they would have beaten West Ham, they then would have only been 6 points off Spurs, 7 points off Wolves, and they've still got something to play for to try and claw into perhaps the Conference League, which would be great. They'd love it.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, so I think that's it for them. Mm-hmm. They'll finish anywhere between 9th and 13th, maybe. But no, I think transitional season. West Ham, I'll let you off this week, but when Liam's here, both of you need to answer for your crimes at the start of the year, saying that you both said they'll get top 4, and I said they should get top 4 if they're as good as you say, and they are. And now we're not. It doesn't look so likely. Chelsea needed to win that just to keep that distance between that 4th spot.
Yeah.
in the end, I thought it was a really well taken goal. Did you see it? That was class.
It was great.
That was similar to Rafinha in terms of the composure to get that.
Ruthless, like he was the big bad boy of that game. Like everybody was hating on Havertz because he kind of did a dirty little tackle, and then it just ruthless. It was so harsh on Dan Burn. It was great.
The thing is I'm not going to say I feel sorry for Chelsea because I don't, but just off the top of your head, don't look how many games have they lost this year?
3, I'm guessing.
Yeah, 3.
Is it 3? Yeah.
Yeah. How many have you lost?
2.
How many have City lost?
2.
3. So like that's the thing I was getting a bit cheesed off when you not now but earlier on in the year, like Chelsea's bad run, when all they'd done was win 1 game and drawn 2. I think that just goes to show the standard that's required. But I think you need to be fair and say it's not that Chelsea have been bad; they've actually been very, very good. It's just that the standard of excellent now is so
10
different.
years ago, they would have won the league.
Yeah. Comprehensive win for you guys. Maybe it's time you actually start putting some respect on the Portuguese league. After you said Luis Diaz wasn't fit to play.
Lies. Lies.
And again, Liam will hate me for doing this. Arsenal are in a great position now. Like they've got 3 games in hand on Manchester United and West Ham. But before everyone goes, Arsenal looks so good. They're playing so well. Arsenal are they're amazing. They're amazing. These are Arsenal's games since February. Wolves away, 1-0.
Yeah.
Bigger club, more expenditure, should be winning that. Brentford at home. If you were doing a bet slip, Maze, and you had to pick one of those teams, who would you have picked?
Arsenal.
Wolves again at home, given the fact you're aware they've already beaten them away, who would be on your bet slip if you couldn't do draw and you had to do Arsenal or Wolves?
Arsenal.
Okay. Watford away.
Arsenal.
Yeah, and it was 2-3, so it was a close one. And then an absolutely dire Leicester team at home.
Yeah, Arsenal. I did put Arsenal on my bet slip.
Now, let's see how they fare in these next 2. Liverpool and Aston Villa. Liverpool, obviously, I think you'll beat them 3-4-1. And then it's how they bounce back to that. Villa, you just don't know what you're going to get. Vieira will make it horrible for them at Palace. And then, I tell you what, after that Brighton game, which follows Palace, Southampton, you don't know what you're going to get. Man United, that'll be a big game for 4th. West Ham, big game for 4th. Leeds fighting for survival. Newcastle, you're not sure. If it goes down to that final day, and Everton need to stay up. So, Liam George, sleep in fear.
Sleep in fear. Look, Arsenal should have won those games, but they did win those games. So you've got to give them credit where it's due. Because United didn't do that when they had that easy run.
Very true. Great
podcast, George. I always love talking football with you. So I will catch you, everybody, maybe midweek. Have a good night. Bye.